So, if you're watching this on my old channel, chances are you are already familiar with some of the things I typically discuss. If by any chance I've chosen a new channel, which I probably will go ahead and do that so I can kind of, I guess, remake everything I tried to make with my previous channel, or I may do both, whatever I end up doing. What I wanted to get into today is the concept of what has been brought up as Luciferianism, and why it is so very important that you, I guess, have a balanced and focused mind whenever you are using this type of practice. A lot of people who come from Christian homes typically have this type of either distance, I guess you could say, to anything outside of the norm of what they are used to, or they may have, you know, a more of an attraction to it, because if you grow up Christian or Catholic or what have you, then you're going to be oppressed naturally going into them. And I myself came from a Christian home. It was very, it was awful. I'm not going to say it wasn't. It was this happy-go-lucky thing. It was fucking awful. And the reason it was so bad isn't because of the fact that I disagreed with it. It was the fact that anytime I attempted to, I guess, have any sense of self, any sense of freedom, any sense of doing my own thing, it began to falter. I would either mess it up, or in the process, due to the oppression I had against me due to religious reasons, that's their right to, tell me how they feel. They are comfortable with it in their house. People will try to argue that, saying, "Oh, well, you are under their supervision. They're your parents. You should listen." Well, the thing is, you can take away everything in somebody's room. You can beat them. You can keep everything away from them. You can do everything in your power to try to make them not follow through with that path. And yet, at the same time, you cannot take away their fucking brain. Okay, I'm sorry, you just can't. People tried to say, in one instance, I actually overheard my younger brother, tell me that my parent at the time was going to attempt to, quote, knock it out of me, as in, like, either be the interest out of me, or whatever they meant by that, where they said they were going to knock the interest out of me. And to me, that's pretty abusive. And it really makes you wonder, because we have these concepts these days. Let me turn this down really quick. My trippy music. We have these concepts these days of, like, this absolute singular path that is for everybody. And, human beings are different from person to person. The definition of human alone can mean different things to different people, and therefore you get a different result with different types of humans, with different types of perceptions. Now, going along with this, you have to have a type of focus about you. You have to have something that brings you up out of the depths of that shit you get thrown into by the people that are pressing your interest in the occult, Luciferianism, what have you. The occult doesn't automatically mean even magic. It means hidden. That's all occult means. If you occult something, if something is occulted from you, that means it is hidden from you. So we kind of we can see where the manipulation has taken place in our society, where the word occult has become synonymous with doing, black magic, or just anything that is not Christian. Occult just means something is hidden. And in that aspect, a lot of mystical influences that you can actually see if you read between the lines in all these different Christ-based religions. You can see where the occult is within them as well, but I won't go into that at the moment. Now, some people may ask, why the fuck would anyone get interested in, Luciferianism or Satanism or magic to begin with? Well, magic is, simply put, the ability to affect change in your reality through your willpower. So, if you were to look at it as Luciferian magic, Luciferian magic, excuse me. Luciferian means, or Lucifer, first let's start with that. Lucifer means light bearer, and that doesn't mean Satan. In fact, I'm pretty sure the word Lucifer was never even actually used in the fucking Bible. It is a word that means light bearer. It's from the, I believe, Greek or Latin, Roman, Luciferian. And that also ties into the word phosphorus, which also refers back to light bearer. I believe the two words are related. And with this word, it has been turned through manipulation to a word being synonymous with Satan. You see it in Christian music everywhere. They mention Lucifer as if they're, attacking this word, which just means to bear light bearer. And for that matter, any person could be, if you were to look at Lucifer as being an adjective, any person could be a Lucifer, as far as that goes. And so it's really inaccurate to say it's any one individual. Rather, it'd be more accurate to say that it's a type of force that can exist, it can coexist within nature or people as like the Promethean aspect of enlightenment, that is, being able to basically bear your own torch, bear your own light, and as a result, you can become a god in yourself, rather than having to submit and become one with the Christian deity or Yahweh. Now, for those who may be a little confused as to why then there's the quote from the Bible that says, "Oh, how thou art fallen from heaven, Lucifer, son of the morning." Well, if you were to see this from a different perspective, okay, it's referring to the king of Babylon at that time in the Bible, because it's comparing the king of Babylon's fall to the rise and fall of the morning star, which is Venus. Rose in the morning and falls at night as the evening star. The rise and fall of the king of Babylon happened just as quickly. So it's kind of like an alert to Venus rather than an actual being it's referring to. And Christians everywhere will try to quote that passage saying, "Oh, well, that's proof Lucifer fell, blah, blah, blah." No, it's ridiculous. Most of the Bibles you see today are just flawed, altered versions of older texts, which were also flawed or edited by the people who brought them in and introduced them. In fact, I think you can see it all over the internet, all over TV. They've already came out and been like, "Oh, hey, there are like six books missing from the Bible." Now, doesn't that make you wonder what the actual original meaning of the book was? How can anyone follow this accurately and believe it if it's already missing and been admitted to missing several books? That just doesn't make any sense to me. It'd be like saying, I have this puzzle, this like 1,000-piece puzzle that is finished, but it's missing a few pieces here and there, but it's still done. It's basically what they're trying to do or have done in some way. It just doesn't make any sense to me, and it shouldn't make any sense to anyone else either. Now, if you were to see the word Luciferian, that would just mean a type of knowledge or wisdom, which means to bring light. And so Luciferianism isn't so much worshipping of Lucifer, so much as it is being able to bring out that aspect, that Promethean aspect, which is self-illumination through desire and will, based off of your own choices and actions rather than someone else telling you how it has to be. And so there are Luciferians and Satanists that worship Lucifer and Satan, don't get me wrong. But to say that they are all one way is inaccurate, just as it would be inaccurate to assume every Christian that I would meet would be closed-minded or homosexual hating or what have you. That would be an inaccuracy on my part if I were to assume such a thing. So you can kind of relate to this now when you think of it, using that as an example. Now, there are a few people who have been messaging me on my old channel. If this is the one you're watching from, then this is the channel I am referring to, and have had several questions about a few things relating to consciousness and energy and magic and that type of thing. So really quick, I'm going to go off the topic of Luciferianism into this concept of what's basically taking place on our planet right now, just for a moment. Yeah, the year 2012, It was never predicted to be the end of the world. It was simply the end of the cycle of time to the Mayans back when this was made. Now, we could interpret a lot of stuff about the Mayan calendar, but nobody can really say for sure what it would mean. But one thing is for certain, it never said the world would end this year. And I don't care what so-called experts in science are trying to lie about and say. The real date, as they try to say, is not 2015. I think this is just more manipulation taking place to keep people off of the subject of 2012. Because the powers that be would obviously fear the input people would actually have during this time. The reason being, we have the symbol of the dragon, okay, for this year, Year of the Dragon. That alone is acting like a sigil. And if people were to consciously focus on that symbolism, that energy current, which is the dragon, which is also synonymous with the Kundalini energy. Kundalini means coiled up. In Eastern traditions, it is the serpent that goes up the spine, all the way up to the ajna, the center, and then the crown, which then releases this white light in the mythos and mysticism behind the Kundalini. The Kundalini is basically a bioelectric current of energy that goes through every single person's body, and when it goes up the spine, it feels snake-like, so therefore the snake or dragon symbolism comes from that in regards to this thing. And so it's on that note, it makes you wonder why the serpent is so slandered openly by the elite ruling religious powers. If you think of it in that sense, it really makes you wonder. And with this year 2012, what we basically have is all these different belief systems that are putting something towards this date, and you don't have to believe anything will happen this year. You can be completely against the idea that 2012 means anything on that day. But the fact remains is that because you have so many people who have some sort of thought about the date, even people who don't believe anything about it, the fact is it's linked in every single person's mind because it's that out there in media, TV, internet, stuff like that. So there's really no escaping the fact that the date is still tied to every single person, which, if it has a magical significance, this would make for a very interesting aftershock at the end of the year. Because think about it, all these people that focus on things like ascension or evolution while still being on Earth, not necessarily going up in a bubble and leaving, that's not what a lot of these people are saying. Some people might try to promise that, but that's not the case. It could easily be that there are several hundreds of people who are reporting their consciousness is accelerating. And as a result, they are beginning to express interest in things such as mysticism, the concept of ascension, all these other things that are taking place. And for a Luciferian, they may or may not, have an idea about an ascension being done for them. I would recommend that every single Luciferian or Satanist or someone who wants to be into this type of thing will look at this year as a opportunity rather than something handed to you, but an opportunity to work with that dragon energy, that current that is rising and accelerating throughout the planet, and go from there. See what happens. You can take tools, you can take, any book can tell you what to do, but it is you that actually forms the magic. And so, when you think of this, remember that you are the one that decides whether or not you will evolve or therefore ascend. And whatever that means to you is up to you, and you will get that feedback to you. Your consciousness is like a mirror. So if you create this projection in your mind, you create this belief system in a specific way, like think of it like if you were making your own matrix within your mind. You create that belief system, and then it gets cast out, but then it comes back to you based off of what you're giving out. So, with 2012, see it as an awakening for yourself, as being surrounded by this serpent energy that rises through your spine, that keeps you focused and enlightened and awakened. whatever that means to you. There is no easy path to enlightenment or awakening, but there are ways to accelerate it. And, you know, spirits, demons, whatever you want to call them, whether they are real or not, is really up to you. You can experience a spirit outside of yourself. Sure, you can see it physically appear, but does that make it genuinely, physically separate and real from yourself? Is what you should ask yourself. It could also be a projection or a hologram that your mind has created because you allowed it to create that. I'm not going to go too in depth on this, but it's my hope with this video that it kind of clears up a lot of clutter that I guess I threw out with my last few on my channel, which was, you know, I guess it was just me needing to learn a bit more, which is fine. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to say for this one. I mean, the concepts of Luciferianism and why would anyone want to do this? Well, for some people it's just a natural thing they're attuned to. And if that's how you feel, then study. I would recommend either, if you're really into this, to look at some of Michael Ford's work, particularly Adversarial Light, which so far has been my favorite grimoire to read through. If you're into more Norse traditions, then I would recommend looking at Thomas Carlson's work, Uthark, Night's Eye of the Runes, as well as Kabbalah Qlipoth Goetic Magick, which may be kind of harder to find and kind of pricey, but if you can find it online, or if you can find, you know, just find a copy somewhere, I would highly recommend reading through that. I'm still reading through it myself, but so far it's been a great read. That's pretty much all I guess I wanted to say for now. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and more from me soon. I'm kind of tired. I just spent all afternoon screaming my lungs out to, you know, death metal and shit. Gotta keep practice after all. But, yeah, stay tuned, and I guess I'll have more on my channel as soon as I can. Have a nice day.